How many times have we smiled on the outside, but yet silently battling negative thoughts on the inside? And what if those thoughts, what if they can be broken? Well, today we're talking about breaking that cycle on the Invisible but Powerful show.
Welcome to Invisible but Powerful, where heart, soul, and spirit intertwine. This show is about sharing stories of faith, resilience, and transformation to inspire you to uncover, unlock, and unleash the incredible potential God has placed within you. Now, let's get ready for real talk and heart-to-heart conversations on the Invisible but Powerful show.
Welcome to the Invisible but Powerful show. I'm your host, Kimberly Kiner, and in this episode, we are recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month. This episode is centered around something that many people struggle with every single day. They struggle with their thoughts. So today's episode is entitled, You Are Not Your Thoughts. And that title matters because so many people are silently carrying thoughts that have shaped the way they see themselves and their lives. Thoughts that are connected to poverty, thinking, I'll never get ahead or I'll always struggle. Success is for other people, not for me. There are also thoughts that are connected to your body, the way that you see yourself image wise, physically. There are thoughts like, I hate the way I look. I will never feel confident in the skin that I'm in. And then there are thoughts that are connected to pain, rejection, disappointment, and failure. The thoughts that say, I'm not enough, I'll never change, I'm too broken, I'm too far gone, nobody understands, I'm the only one going through this. And recently, my own son said something that really stuck with me. It really stayed with me. He said, Oh, my life. Oh, this is my life. I expect everything to go wrong in my life. That's just how it is for me. And hearing that made me realize how easy it is for negative thoughts to become expectations. And then expectations begin shaping the way we live, the way we feel, and the way we see our future. And after hearing those thoughts long enough, they stop sounding like thoughts and they start sounding like the truth, like your reality. Recently, I read a fascinating book called How to Stop Negative Thoughts. And it really opened my eyes to how powerful our thoughts truly are and how many people are trapped in the negative patterns that they don't even realize are shaping their lives. Research suggests that we have around 6,000, maybe more thoughts a day, and a larger percent of those thoughts are repetitive. And because our brains are wired for survival, many of those repeated thoughts tend to lean towards the negative, especially if we're not intentional about renewing our minds. What if they are simply patterns or loops or stories that can be interrupted and changed? Today, we're creating space for a different conversation, one centered around awareness, healing, renewal, and hope, because you are not your thoughts. And freedom may begin with changing the way you think. Today, we are joined by Barbara Ireland. Barbara is the author of the Amazon bestseller, How to Stop Negative Thoughts, What My Near Death Experience Taught Me About Mind Loops, Neuroscience, and Happiness, a book born from a life changing near death experience in 2010, where she was shown the tremendous power of thoughts and why interrupting negative loops can change every aspect of a person's life. At the heart of her work is the de-looping method, which helps interrupt the downward spiral of worry, self doubt, and other negative thought patterns to create noticeable shifts in health, relationships, success, and joy. Barbara has presented workshops for organizations, including Boeing, nonprofit organizations, and spiritual communities around the country. And she is currently writing her first novel. Please help me welcome my very special guest, Barbara Ireland.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi there. So nice to see you, Kimberly.
Welcome to the show. I'm so honored that you're here.
Thank you.
So, I had a chance to read your book about negative thoughts. And I wanted you to go back and kind of tell the audience where it all started for you. Take us back to that moment where you realized that your thoughts were working against you.
Okay. So I was working on a music career, and I was touring with a guitar player that plays in the band Pearl Jam, and we had our own band. And so we were on stage in Brooklyn, and there was a man in the very front of the audience, right in front of me, who maybe he thought he was going to a Pearl Jam show. We were not Pearl Jam. And so he didn't like it. And, there's hundreds of people enjoying it, but my mind focused on this one man who was clearly not enjoying it, crossed eyes and, rolling his eyes, crossed arms and rolling his eyes. And my mind did the strangest thing. First, it asked, I wonder what's wrong with that guy. And then quickly it went, what's wrong with our band? Like our sound, what's wrong? There's something wrong with us. And very quickly it went, what's wrong with me? My singing is horrible. How am I even up here? I'll never hit that high note that's coming. I'm about to forget all the lyrics. And all this stream of negative thinking, it felt like I was being attacked by it. And I thought I had decent self-esteem, but apparently there was an undercurrent that was not nice to me. And so that was just cascading into me while I'm still trying to perform and act like everything's normal and cueing with the band and remembering my lyrics and hitting my notes. And so I had these two parts of my brain going at the same time. And then a third part of my brain, which I believe now is a spiritual part of my brain, or my system, was behind me, observing and commenting on it. Wow, Barbara, look what's going on here. Look what you can do. I'm like, what is happening? And so that night I was laying in bed and I thought I have gotten rid of most of my negative thoughts through therapy and just working on myself, but apparently not. So how am I going to get them out? And I decided that I was going to sign up for this camp that was like a self-improvement kind of camp where you face your fears and you get through your boundaries that you think you can't do and develop courage. And it was there I had a near-death experience because I pushed my body so hard. But that original moment of noticing my thoughts are really harsh. And as we'll discuss later, I've uncovered that those thoughts go on in human beings' brains, not just my own, unconsciously or subconsciously all the time. We just don't even know they're playing, and they have an incredibly powerful impact on our lives.
So, but how did you said that you had the near-death experience. How did that shape that? Like, how did you come to that epiphany that, oh, because of this experience, this is really what's happening in my life? Like, what happened in that near-death experience?
Okay, so we're going to go in there, Kimberly? Okay, so
Yeah.
okay. So I had two things going on with my body after pushing it. This was a week-long camp where there was sleep deprivation. There was every single day doing something so physically intense. There was mental exhaustion. It was over the top. And the last main day was an endurance experience. And we were in the sun and we were carrying bricks and it was timed and really pushing my body after the whole week of this stuff. And two things happened. I had heat stroke, which I later found out gives you symptoms like you're having a stroke. It's actually a version of a stroke. So my visual, my auditory, everything got completely strange and frightening, strobing, echoing voices, all sorts of weird things happened with that. And wobbly legs and, heart racing, all sorts of things. And then the even more severe thing, although you can die from heat stroke, But for me, I found out my body doesn't hold on to sodium, and you need sodium to keep your blood pressure normal. And I had been sweating and drinking water way more than normal the whole week because of all the exercise. And I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want the sun to affect me, so I was drinking more and more water. And so I was actually washing sodium out of my blood, and my blood pressure was crashing, but I didn't know that. And so, unfortunately, this camp did not have a proper medic, which is completely strange. But the man did give me electrolytes, so there was some sodium in that. And he didn't. Of course, no one knew what was going on. But he put me under a tree. that was the limit of my medical help. And my best friend was there with me, holding my hand and praying for me. And as my body started shutting down, each limb started going numb one at a time, and I was just kind of screaming and crying because it was terrifying. And pretty soon I was a torso and a head under a tree. And I can't tell you the vulnerability and the fear that goes along with that. But the beautiful thing and very bizarre thing that happened there was I was drifting. I didn't know it. I was drifting into death, basically. I was leaving my body. And as I left this plane and started going towards the other plane, these movies started playing in my mind that were not like memories. They were not like anything I'd ever seen before, but they were replays of different moments in my adult life. And the first one was from a couple weeks earlier at a different band rehearsal when I'd gotten into a conflict with my brother, and we started arguing in it. Now, these were really odd, Kimberly, because I was observing the scene, but I was also in the scene at the same time, and I was experiencing it. So it was completely different than a memory. And it stopped, like this movie stopped at one moment, like a freeze frame. And this voice, this kind male voice I'd never heard, that was not in the outside world of the earth, and it was not my normal internal voice, but it said, "What were you thinking at that moment that the movie stopped?" And I knew what I was thinking. And I said that. And the moment I said that, it was like the film swished off and a new film came down of something that had happened a month earlier. And it played. And I raised my eyebrow in that one, and it freeze framed. And it said, "What was your thought at the moment you raised your eyebrow?" And I answered it. And this experience went on for several hours. And while these moments were happening, I could feel myself leaving here, leaving my body. And this is the part I always tear up at. So just forgive me. But the feeling on the other side, on heaven, was so beautiful, so deeply full of love, something that we don't have in the earthly plane. It always makes me tear up because it's unlike anything that we know here. It's every positive feeling you could imagine wrapped up into one. Welcoming, comfort, understanding, love, kindness, all of it together. And so I'll just to finish this NDE moment, at the end of all these movies, that same voice, it's like the image went black, and the voice said, "You have a choice now, Barbara. Would you like to stay or go?" Meaning, stay in my body or go to the other side. And this was a hard decision because I felt what it felt like on the other side, and I was leaning towards that. And then I asked very important questions about what it is to be a human here. And I made the decision to come back and complete some things and change my life, basically, in some ways. And so that's what I did. And it wasn't until about a month later, I had a month of bliss, by the way, bliss of experiencing life maybe the way a baby does, except with a human, an adult brain. But like everything was beautiful and amazing and just completely mind blowing, just amazing. Because I got this second chance, you know. But it was a month later that I started hearing the old thoughts starting to come back. The worries, the self-doubt, the self-criticism. And I was like, uh-oh. I thought those things were gone, but they were coming back. And that's when I made the connection between the time in Brooklyn, the near-death experience, and then what I was experiencing again. And I started my journey of research about the mind.
Okay. And what did you find in your research about the mind? Because I know you talked about that in your book about the mind and mind loops.
Yeah. So this was very powerful for me. I spent 3 years studying it, neuroscience, cellular biology. I mean, not in a university, but you know, you can learn a lot. And what I found out is there are 2 types of negative thoughts. One is the kind that goes into your head and you notice it like, oh, I'm so clumsy. And then it goes out. You're like, go on with your day. You don't let it affect you. You hear it and it goes away. And then there's the other kind that I call mind loops, where the I am clumsy thought goes in and it hangs out in there like a hamster on a wheel. Goes, yeah, I'm so clumsy. Remember that time when I spilled all that orange juice on that woman? Oh my God, remember when I used to always trip when I was little? Oh, remember how everyone called me clumsy in school? And it starts building and growing and blossoming into a thing. Next thing you know,
It's like a story.
yes,
It's like you're making a whole story. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
and then not just a story, but it starts becoming like a mantra. You're starting to actually create your experience because your brain focuses on what you focus on is what it will focus on. And so if you're talking all the time about how clumsy you are, it's going to start showing you all these opportunities to make you right. That you are right. Yes, you are clumsy. And
Yeah.
I'm going to show you every single way. And we're going to make sure you trip tomorrow.
That is interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's like what you think comes, it's like you become a magnet to whatever you're thinking about.
That's right.
That's what it reminds me of.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
So what for can you I know you kind of went into the mind loops, but there was a really good, I don't know if you want to talk about your book because I think it was so profound where you talked about hiking and you talked about you have your regular path and you have the path that you haven't taken before.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes, this was a really great way for me to understand what's actually happening physically in the brain with these mind loops. And that's that our minds they're plastic. It's called plastic. It means it can change. They used to think minds couldn't change, but we can change it by different behaviors or different thinking processes or whatever it is. So with self-directed neuroplasticity, you can change your thinking patterns and get out of these loops. And how I described it, like you mentioned, is if you hike, you go to your favorite hiking spot and there's your normal path you're always going on, and you start walking down it and you stop and we're, oh, it's kind of interesting over there. There's no path over there, but I'm kind of curious what that area of the forest looks like. Now, before I go on, your original hiking path is a looping thought. You have gone on forever, and it's easy to see. It's easy to go down. It's a clear path for your brain, for your actual neural pathway to go down. But if you step off your path, you're going into the wild yonder of your brain that has no neural pathways yet formed of something maybe like I am graceful instead of I am clumsy. That's how it would connect.
Mm.
The I am clumsy is your first pathway. So you're like, but you don't know that maybe yet. You're just gonna check out over here, this other part of the forest, and you have to move logs and bushwhack your way to make a trail. And you get to this beautiful place of wildflowers, and you thought, oh, that was so fun. I think I'll come back here again tomorrow. So you retrace your steps, and you're making this mild path that's not quite formed yet. The next day you go, and you kind of see the path you made, and you go again, and you come back, and every time you're going on that new path, it's getting clearer and easier to walk on. And meanwhile, you're ignoring the first path, and that one is starting to grow over, is starting to actually cover up and become no path anymore. And that is what is absolutely amazing about our brains. Because if we're thinking all the time this one negative mind loop and keeping that path, that neural pathway really clean, the energy in your brain is just going to drop in there and go there is really easy. But if you consciously choose this other path and keep going there, every time you're on this one, you think that thought, oh, I got to move it over to this one, and focus on this new mental path you're making with your thoughts. That one will become clearer and easy for your brain to slip into. And it does take time. It takes commitment to noticing your thoughts and jumping over to a different thought pattern. But when you do it, your whole life changes. Like, it's miraculous, because then you're not working on it anymore. You just naturally think better about yourself, about the world, about other people, whatever the issue is. You make more money, or you're healthier, or whatever the things are that you've been making hard on yourself with your thoughts get better.
Right. So why do you think that? I mean, as we're talking about mental health awareness, I feel like during these times, it's becoming more and more prevalent where people are feeling the stress, the anxiety. Why do you think that these thoughts are so hard to break, even if you give them the practice? Why is it so hard for them to break out of that pattern? What do you think about that?
Yeah, they are hard. They're very sticky is what I call them. And that's because they're ingrained from early childhood programming. Because we learn even pre-words, but between like the ages of 0 to about 11, we learn almost in a hypnotized state. Because if we had to be consciously learning how to walk, how to speak words, how to use a fork, and we didn't have the robust power of our subconscious to go, hey, I got this. Now that your body knows how to move and walk, we got it. You don't have to think about how to move each foot anymore. So your subconscious is really helping you learn very quickly when you're young. The problem is, and then you don't think about it anymore. It's like when we drive and we're like, oh my gosh, I just got to this location and I didn't even know I was driving. It's because the subconscious kind of took over more or less and did a lot of the driving.
Right.
And so
Right.
the problem is, even with the best parents in the world, they're going to have stressful days. They're going to say things, even in a sarcastic way, that children do not understand as a joke. There's all sorts of ways that children take in negative programming about themselves or from their classmates or teachers or whatever. And
Right.
that is becoming unconsciously embedded into our psyche. And we don't even know we have these things.
No.
And you might have
Wow.
early memories that you can kind of see where maybe some of these things stemmed from, which is an interesting, but that takes some digging.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. There were a lot of things that come up in the childhood that I still think about today.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to break that negative thinking and think positively. And finding your book has been really life-changing for me. And we're going to talk about the method that you use after we talk about the book, Invisible but Powerful. This book was written to encourage women especially those women who feel unseen or they feel overlooked and they need encouragement, they need inspiration. Take a look at this promo.
Have you ever felt like life's challenges have left you searching for hope? Invisible but Powerful isn't just a devotional. It's a lifeline for women navigating their toughest moments. Filled with heartfelt stories, scriptures, and reflections, this book is inspiring women to rediscover their strength and faith. It's time to uncover your inner strength, unlock your potential, and unleash a life filled with purpose. Scan the QR code now or go to Amazon.com to purchase and begin your journey today. You don't have to face life's challenges alone. Let Invisible but Powerful guide you every step of the way.
Welcome back to the Invisible but Powerful Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Kiner, and today I am talking with my special guest, Barbara Ireland. And this episode is entitled, You Are Not Your Thoughts. So, Barbara, let's talk about the method a little bit. And you go into a little bit about how people can actually detach those thoughts instead of, well, I'm kind of going into the D's, but I wanted you to talk about the 4 D's of breaking that pattern
Yeah,
with the negative thoughts or the mind loops.
sure. So the delooping method actually has 9 full steps, but the book covers 4 because they're the
Okay.
ones that deal with the thoughts. There's other ones that deal with emotions and the body and things like that. But the 4 steps alone change things so dramatically. That's what I used at the beginning, and it changed really fast my relationships. Any problems with
Mm-hmm.
relationships were healed. More income started happening just in remarkable ways. My energy increased, for sure. My joy, it was absolutely astounding how this shifted for me. And there's the 4 steps are, well, the very first one is just start noticing that you're having these negative thoughts. So it's detect. And the problem with this one is that we are so, like I said, so many of these thoughts are unconscious. We don't know we're thinking them. In fact, there's probably many people
Right.
listening that don't even know they have a voice going on in their head. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not a weird thing. It's a normal part of a brain. And it's constantly narrating our life for me. It's like, oh, look, she's wearing yellow. It says weird things like that. Like, I can see that you're wearing yellow. But my mind has to say, oh, look, there's yellow. It's really odd. So that's harmless. But all the other ones, you have to look out for what they're saying. And so a lot of them are repeating these messages that are ingrained. And like, oh, our family wasn't wealthy, so how could I be wealthy? There's no way.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
depression runs in my family, so I'm going to be depressed. Or there's no way out of this. Or I'll be overweight forever. That's just how I'm built. Or it's
Right.
impossible. I'm too old. I can't do that. It's playing all that stuff all the time. So the most important step of all is the first step, detecting the thought. Because if you don't know what's going on up there, you can't even change it. So I really feel that's important to stress for people that, like, when I started doing this, I put a note by the side of my bed that said, what is my first thought today? And I would wake up and see it. And it's amazing to notice how we are starting our days. We don't even know. I was working with one client who said he didn't realize he was waking up in the middle of the night with this same thought. He woke up in the morning with this thought, and he thought it throughout the day, which was, I hate my job. Can you imagine? Poor guy, he hated his job so badly. But it's like, he was saying it like 30 times a day, and he wasn't even conscious of it. And of course,
Oh
he
my
came to me
goodness.
because he was hating his job, and he was like, how come I hate my job? I'm what's wrong here? It's like, well, let's figure that one out. So anyway, it's really important to notice the thought. And then the second step is detach. And that is it's really amazing how fast this can happen. But if you have a thought like, I don't know, let's go back to clumsy. I'm clumsy. That is using I am, which is a very powerful 2 words. And it's
Yep.
identity based. It's, as you know, it's very powerful, these words. So if we're saying those all the time and we don't know it and they're negative, I'm too old, I'm too overweight, I'm too whatever it is, poor, then
Mm.
we are ingraining that as our identity. And so
Right.
we look at the thought. It doesn't even have to be I am, but let's just use I am poor. And we're looking at that. And you notice all the reasons why you're poor. And your mind is going to say, well, look at that. Look where you live. Look at this. Look at that. I'm like, okay, there's some outside things that are true about that. But I am not poor. I am not poor. I am an incredible, beautiful spirit that is living in this body. And so it's really important to notice. But anyway, that kind of going beyond what the detached thing is. What all you have to do is to name the thought as, oh, I am poor. That's a mind loop, or that's a negative thought. And when you notice that, that's the old hiking trail. You can name it whatever you want, but when you name it, suddenly the thought's over here. It's not you anymore. It's just a measly little thought going on in your head. It has no power over you. And you feel that really quickly. So that's number 2. What's important is number 3, because these things are like rubber bands. You're feeling better. You're seeing its thought. It's not you. And you're okay for like a minute. And then it swings back and you're poor again in your mind.
Yep.
So you got to go to number 3, which is detour. And that is consciously putting your mind on something beyond, something else other than that thought. And it's hard. This is very hard, because if you're in an argument with someone and you're thinking about how mean they are and all these awful things they've done to you, and yeah, they probably did some awful things. But if we're focusing on that constantly, bringing up all those times, seeing in our mind all these memories of them acting mean and saying mean things to us, we're just going to just ingrain our body with stress and anxiety and
Right.
dislike, if not hatred. And so we detour by, you name that thought about the other person, that's a negative mind loop, and then you find something to use your mind on that feels better. It could be a prayer. It could be breathing. It could be calling a friend and talking about fun things, not the mind loop. It could be
Right.
physical things are really good. Shooting some hoops or going for a walk or playing piano, petting your dog. That's one of my favorites. So anything
Or
to
it
get
could
the
be
mind
a
on.
scripture.
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
reciting a scripture.
That's probably
Yeah.
one of the best. If that gives your heart
Yeah.
calm, and it gets your mind off
Right.
it, for sure.
So that's the detour.
Yeah. And those 3 work
Okay.
hand in hand. You notice the thought, you detach from it by naming it. There's other ways I talk about in the book. And then you detour to something else.
Okay. Okay. And then there was the last.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned you kind of like that one. Or at least intrigued by it, at least when you wrote me. And that's story. This is a very important one. This one is not something you do quickly. It takes some, thought and prayer on it. But it's, you look at a situation in your life that's not going well, and you look at the stories you're saying about this. It's like, let's say you're just got a divorce, because this is a good one for stories. Or a breakup, right? It's like, oh, that person was awful and they just did all these things and they cheated on me and it's like on and on, right? It's really easy to go into stories when there's a breakup or a divorce.
Right.
So you want to go into a situation like that. And when you're actually in a problem, this is very hard to do. It's easier once you're not like activated and emotional. But if you think in your own lives on past bad situations you've had, when someone, you broke up with someone, but it was like a few years ago, let's say, or you were fired from a job or whatever it was, notice what may have occurred because of that is positive in your life. I remember I worked with this one woman who she said when she was in high school, she was incredibly good at soccer, or I can't remember, some sport. And she was on the team and they were about to go to some finals and it was a big deal and she broke her leg. And she was lying in bed with this huge cast. All her friends went, had a great time, and she was furious and grief-stricken, as you can imagine. As she's lying there, just mad about everything, looping about how mean the universe is, or, how God did something mean here, or whatever, however she was thinking about it. She's like, well, what can I do? I can't move. There was an upright piano in their house. No one played piano. And she hobbled over there and she sat down. She started dinking around, didn't know how to play. It was kind of fun. The next day she did it again. The next day. By the time I met her, which was about 15 years later, 20 years later, she was this unbelievable musician. She ended up getting her degree in music. She's put out albums. It's, if she hadn't broken her leg, she probably wouldn't have gotten into music. She wouldn't have known she loved it. So the stories, we need to look back. What opened up? Because if you're thinking you're going through life and God is there supporting you and loving you, then the bad things that are happening are not to hurt you. They are to shift your direction. They're to get you out of a relationship. Maybe that person cheated on you so you would get out of that relationship because it was bad in all the other ways. Or because the love of your life was waiting for you and you met them later. Or because if you stayed in that relationship, you would have had heart disease because your heart was so in pain and you weren't even aware of it. These difficult things that happen to us happen for reasons. And it's so awful to say that when we're in the middle of it. It's like, I don't want this to happen. I hate this. But
Right.
stories we're saying about how bad it is. And it's later we go, oh, that's why that happened. And look what came from it. So now when I'm in bad situations, I grit my teeth and I say, I know I want this to be happening, but I just don't know why yet.
Okay. All right. It's so interesting that whole de-looping method and how that works. There are so many people who are actually struggling in silence and they need a safe space to kind of release. And we actually have a monthly IBP chat where women come together and we talk about things like negative thinking and faith, and we kind of loop that in with a scripture to make it a more positive experience. Check out this promo.
Do you ever feel like you're carrying life's weight on your shoulders? At the IBP Monthly Chat, you don't have to do it alone. This is your space. A space where real women come together to share, connect, and encourage each other. Whether you're navigating challenges, seeking clarity, or simply craving authentic connection, the IBP Monthly Chat is where faith and friendship meet. We meet virtually on Zoom, and each session is a safe place to open your heart and discuss God's Word as it relates to our lives. Here, you'll find strength, understanding, and the reminder that you are never alone. Scan the QR code to subscribe and be notified of our next session. Let's grow together, one conversation at a time.
Welcome back to the Invisible but Powerful Show. I am here with my special guest, Barbara Ireland, and we are talking about the episode You Are Not Your Thoughts. Now, Barbara, how do you see the connection? Because we talked about the de-looping method. How do you see the connection between renewing your mind and becoming the person that you're truly meant to be?
This may be a deeper question than you meant to ask, Kimberly. But this is my personal opinion, okay?
Okay.
Based on my near-death experience. Take it or leave it, people, okay? Here's how I see things from my near-death experience. Each time those movies played, and they were stopping at certain moments, what I understand now about thoughts is that they are a creative force, and that I am literally creating my experience using my thoughts. And if I'm unconscious about them, I'll be just floating through life, just moving through my life based on unconscious programming. And let's hope some of it's good. And if I am conscious about that, and that can be with thought and with prayer, it's a really nice way of like being very conscious with your thoughts, because you're combining your heart and your spirit, your mind, your spirit, your heart, God, all together as you're creating your experience, and then staying on top of those thoughts, those negative thoughts, keep moving them into the creation thoughts that you actually want. That's how you start becoming the best version of yourself, or the version that you want of yourself. It's when we fall unconscious, which is really easy to do, because the world is, especially now with the devices in our hands all day long, we are constantly distracted and focused on the external world. And thankfully, your audience is praying and going inward, at least some of the time. And, you know, that will help them be able to access noticing their thoughts and making, you know, more conscious choices about these creative forces that I call our thought. If you think about the very first words of the Bible, it's about the word. And what are thoughts? They're words.
Right.
And it's the most creative force. I mean, other than God. I think as a human, that's how I personally feel about the thoughts. And so that's how renewing our thoughts will change us and become our best selves.
Yeah, and when I think about renewing your mind, there was the scripture that talks about renewing. Don't conform to this world, you renew your mind. And so that's where that question kind of came from. Renewing your mind and always thinking more positively instead of negatively, even if it's, you know, just repeating a scripture or repeating a song that an uplifting song that's going to make you feel better, as opposed to making you feel worse.
That's great.
But there are some people who are still feeling stuck in this. So what advice would you give them that are still feeling stuck?
I think everyone's feeling stuck. I mean, come on, this world is just crazy town. But
Yeah.
and I mean, I
Yeah.
get stuck. I'm not just completely clean all the time. I get stuck too, and I have my own resentments I'm still working on, and you know, I'm certainly not perfect at this, but I have a tool that will help me get out of it when I start noticing I'm going down one of these looping roads. So it's really about becoming conscious of the thought process. And if someone was really feeling stuck with, for instance, depression or anxiety, those are two things that are, and all the negative thoughts, all positive and negative thoughts, and again, in my opinion, this is just me, I feel they exist in the body and they get stored there. And I don't know if you've ever had a massage where someone's poking really deep and suddenly you burst out crying. I bet some people in your audience have had that happen, because there are parts in our body holding on to negative thoughts and memories. And when you start moving the fascia around and moving the energy in that body, it can start activating it, and it wants to release. It's wanting to release. Some people actually feel like the energy is, I don't know, how you look at this, but that it's actually moving in there, but it's trapped and it's trying to get out.
Right.
That's why we get triggered by things, because there are instances, maybe someone said something mean to us, in a previous relationship, and now we hear that mean comment and we think about how much we hate that comment. So that's stored somewhere in our body. And if someone else currently says that comment, we don't get mad or neutral in a normal way. It will trigger the old thing that's stuck in there somewhere, and we'll be exaggerating in our anger because it's triggering the old thing on top of what's happening currently, if that made any sense.
Right.
So I
Right.
don't remember where I was
So
going with that. I got off track somewhere.
we were talking about those who get stuck. So I think what you were saying is really knowing, really getting to the point where you're able to detect it and identify it, know when you're going down that downward spiral.
That's
It's like
huge.
you have to recognize that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know where I was going with that before, and that's that some people have pushed down their emotions for so long out of survival reasons, like no judgment there.
true.
Like we need to do that
Right.
sometimes. But because they've
Right.
done that, they may have more stored in their body that haven't been released through movement and tears or even laughter or however we get it out of the body. And so that can make it even harder because they're kind of weighed down with their own negative emotions from years. And so
Right.
there are different ways. It's called somatic therapy that works. I haven't really done that, but I know I do my own version, but it is working with the body to start releasing that. And I cry easily, so I get mine out more. But some people are taught not to cry when they're young, and then they're more jammed in,
Right. That's interesting. Somatic
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very gentle.
Interesting. Well, I have one last question that I always ask my participants, and it is, what does invisible but powerful mean to you in 1 to 2 words
Oh my
as
God.
it relates to you as a as it relates to you as a person?
1 to 2 words. Okay. You don't want me to ramble on some more, Kimberly?
And and then expound on it, because some people would say, okay, these are my 2 words, that's it.
Okay.
Well, tell me a little bit more about why you chose what you chose.
Okay. I'm going to use 1 word. Look at me. I narrowed it down. I think the word will be creativity. And why I use that, it could be creation, actually. Let's say creation. Same thing, though. And that's because God is creative, invisible but powerful. And thoughts are creative, invisible but powerful. And
Wow.
I think they're 2 of the most, well, one is obviously the most powerful, but as far as a human being, as like I said before, I think thoughts are creative. It's not a weapon, but our creative tool. And they're invisible and have much more power than we think, which, as you know, with prayer, how powerful prayer can be in helping heal
Yes.
people or feel better ourselves. And that's a version of it. It's using words. But what if, just what if, we were using prayerful thoughts in our head instead of negative thoughts? Imagine, and I'm not talking about prayer prayerful thoughts in the form of praying in our heads. I'm talking about the creative power of love in our own thoughts, speaking about ourselves, speaking about other people. And when that starts happening, it starts pulling in our own resources of love and of God source love. And that can change everything. And it's all invisible.
Wow. Beautiful. Very nice. All right. Creativity. Creativity.
Yeah.
That's a great word.
Yeah.
Great word. So, Barbara, thank you so much for joining us on the show, sharing your story, sharing your wisdom, and especially your heart today. Can you tell everyone where they can reach out to you, whether it's social media, where they can find your book, and also your website?
Yeah, so howtostopnegativethougts.com is my website. And there's also one, barbaraireland.com, will lead you there as well. And on there, you can see how to get my book. There's tons of free resources for anybody. My YouTube channel has lots of me talking about these concepts. And you can get this thing where it's, I think I call them life hacks, 10 life hacks that you can sign up for, where you get an email every day for 10 days about all these different ways to deloop. And it's been very powerful for people. It's totally free. And there's a delooping masterclass on there that you can order. So the main thing is, though, just start noticing your thoughts.
And all of this is on your website?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So your website, and then your book is also on your website and Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, but same title, How to Stop Negative Thoughts, same as the website. So it's easy to find.
Nice. And then social media.
Yeah, and those are different. They have different things, but if you just look at Barbara Ireland, you'll find me.
Okay. Both Instagram and Facebook would have Barbara Ireland?
Yes, they have their own different names, but you'll see the redhead.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for taking the time out to meet with me, because I know you're a busy woman.
Yeah, I do have a curious mind, and it keeps me very busy. Well, this was an absolute pleasure, Kimberly, and I want to acknowledge you for the amazing work that you're doing. I mean, one of the things I wanted to say is women are not invisible, but in some ways we are invisible in this world compared to, you know who. And so,
Yes.
but we are
Yes.
so powerful. So the divine feminine is incredibly powerful, and so thank you for supporting all these beautiful women.
Oh, thank you for your kind words. And hopefully we'll get to talk soon, or I'll get to meet you in person.
I would love that. It was such a pleasure to meet you, Kimberly.
Thank you all for joining today. To all of you who are watching this episode, remember this, that you are not your thoughts. You have the power to renew your mind. You have the power to break unhealthy patterns. And most importantly, you have the power to step into the life that God has called you to live. We invite you to join us right after this episode on Zoom. If you have questions for Barbara, and if there's anything that we haven't covered, you can talk to her live. Now, if today's episode encouraged you, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our inspirational messages. Until next time, walk in your grace, continue to be powerful, and continue to be blessed and a blessing.
Thank you for spending this time with us on the Invisible but Powerful Show. We'd love to connect with you beyond the show. Follow us on Facebook at Invisible but Powerful Ministries, on Instagram at IBP Ministries, and subscribe to our IBP Ministries YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Until next time, remember to uncover, unlock, and unleash the potential within you. Walk boldly in who and whose you are.